So Japanese rules that people actually care about. And I say it that way because even though there are a ton of cultural norms, like don't eat while you walk or don't tip your servers, I don't think I'm alone in believing that most people won't really be offended if you don't know all of these. And people have told me that anxiety about that has prevented them from planning a trip, but it's far more important to just enjoy and experience this country, as long as you're generally respectful and follow these. Number 1, if you're going to stand on an escalator, stand on the left side so that people can pass you on the right side. Most all of these are very practical, like here you just don't want to get in the way of people rushing to work. Number 2, follow the arrow instructions on the floor when you line up for a train or at a store. I've heard some people complain that some travelers will cut in line by mistake because they don't see these. Next might surprise you, but it's don't talk on your cell phone when you're on a train. I didn't get this one at first, I get it now. There's sociological reasons behind it, just trust me on this one. Next, and if you're still here watching this, I already know you're not the kind of person that would need to hear this anyway, but just follow the rules on the signs. Like travelers taking photos of geisha when the signs say no photos here is the reason why tourists aren't allowed in parts of Kyoto anymore. Or don't be the guy that goes onto the women-only train car. All in all, I see a lot of information out there that makes Japan out to look like a super rigid society, and in my experience that just hasn't been the case, as long as you're generally respectful and aware of your surroundings. But let me know if you disagree, because at the end of the day, I'm just an American dude that's lived there a bunch. Thanks for watching. So what are the wildest vending machines in Japan? Let me show you how true the statement is that you can buy almost anything from a vending machine in Tokyo. From spaghetti to things that help you not have a baby. But let's start with a personal favorite of mine. These ice cream vending machines are found all over the country and are a summertime lifesaver as seen here. I recommend getting Peach Coolish. Next, the mundane. I often use these laundry detergent vending machines. They're very useful if you're often on the go as I am, and I hope you are one day if you visit Japan too. Next, stepping it up a notch, these are bug vending machines. This one's at Dotonbori in Osaka. And yes, these bugs are for eating, and I've also seen fish vending machines. Really, any food you could imagine. Yakiniku, takoyaki, hot pot. Oddly enough though, I've never seen a vending machine in Japan that sells just like chips, Doritos, chocolate, or snacks or anything like that. Instead, I swear you'll casually come across vending machines like this that sell contraceptives so that you can stay safe. And I unfortunately thought that these were playing cards the first time I saw this vending machine with my friends, which is an embarrassing story for another time. But now that we're getting into romance, they have flower vending machines. And finally, the most wild one to me, there are vending machines in Japan where you can buy the phone number along with a photo and some information of single people looking to go on dates, like an analog matchmaking service. I wonder how you get your number inside of that machine. Please let me know if you ever try one of those. It would be so wild to tell your grandkids that you met via a vending machine. Anyway, let me know which ones I missed. Thank you for watching. So technology that really surprised me when I came to Japan, in a country that's famous for its innovative inventions. First is easily these TVs that they have in the front of the cars that I guess is somehow safe to watch and have on when you drive. I see these everywhere, and a lot of my friends just have live sports or the news on when they're driving around. Granted, it is much more difficult to get your driver's license in Japan than it is in America, so that might have something to do with it. But stay safe out there, yeah? And next, we are back to toilets. Wonderful. And it is this button that many toilets have that will make loud water sounds when you go to the bathroom, played through a toilet speaker in case you're feeling shy about sounds. And there's a wild history behind this. Japanese royalty used to have a servant pour water into a bucket from high up to make sound while they used the bathroom to the same effect, before pre-recorded water sounds in toilets were invented. Next is these electric fans inside of vests that a lot of my friends have, mainly who work in construction, to keep you cool during the hot summer days. Last, you probably saw this coming, but robots for so many things I've never seen before. Tourism assistant robots that are dressed like aliens, robots that bring you meat at yakiniku, and security guard robots, although I have heard that they have like police dog robots in New York now too. Anyway, there's a lot, so let me know what surprised you the most, or what you would like to see if you travel Japan. So things that surprised me when I went to Japan. First is how affordable everything was, specifically the low costs of food and rent were lifestyle changers. It isn't hard to find a casual lunch for like $6 and even dinner and drinks out with friends for like $15 to $20 a person. And this really changed the frequency of how much I go out to eat with friends to like 3 to 5 times a week, which I feel really enriches my life and sense of community, especially when living in a new country. And for rent, it wasn't hard to find apartments from like $400 to $800 a month, even in major cities or select neighborhoods of Tokyo, which really opened up my budget and schedule to enjoy my lifestyle, hobbies, friends, and family much more. I don't even want to get into the cost of rent in Los Angeles when I'm looking for apartments there. Next is couples in Japan don't seem to bring their significant others out with their groups of friends as much. Like you can be a couple for a while and still maintain very separate groups of friends. And I see this in a lot of cultural elements here, like more defined roles for insiders of a group of friends versus outsiders. And there's a word that addresses it called uchisoto, which is like how you interact inside certain social groups as opposed opposed to outside of them. And I actually think it's great and leads to tight-knit, comfortable groups of friends in my experience, but it's just very different from how my groups of friends and social circles interact in America. Like if my American friend gets a new girlfriend, she's automatically part of our friends group too, which I also think is cool. But in Japan, a couple times I've never met my friends' long-term partners, and my ex-girlfriend there, I almost never met her group of friends. That last cultural difference was kind of hard to explain, but let me know what you think about it, or if you've experienced anything like that. Okay, thank you for watching. Should you solo travel in Japan? Here are the pros and cons, and this is a question I get asked quite a lot, because even though you can be wild excited about your trip, the prospect of facing all the cultural, linguistic, and logistical barriers by yourself can be anxiety-inducing, but nonetheless it is something I personally love doing. Let's start with the cons because they are more practical. Basically, teamwork can go a long way in an unfamiliar country. Everything from having one friend watch your suitcases while you go to the restroom, to having your friend make reservations for the hot spring while you make reservations for the taxi, can make everything that much easier. To illustrate this, the times I've dragged huge suitcases into tiny bathroom stalls so I don't leave my stuff unattended always have me second-guessing my life choices. Next is obvious, but it is a double-edged sword: companionship. It can easily be the dreamlike memory of a lifetime to travel Japan with a good friend or a lover. As much as I don't like to share this, I did definitely feel isolated and lonely for like the first month that I moved to Tokyo before I started to make friends locally. Dodge that bullet and bring a friend for all the thousands of activities in this country that are at their best when shared with someone else. But here's the aforementioned catch, which I feel I should share because I have seen it happen. The stress and unpredictability of traveling can rigorously test the bonds between people. I've heard one too many stories of relationships or friendships ending over seemingly small misunderstandings or differences in expectations that are exacerbated, blown out of proportion because you're in an unfamiliar, high-risk, high-reward location. So over-prepare and don't let that happen to you, and this leads me into the pros of solo traveling. First and foremost is just socializing locally. I've made some of the best friends of my life because I was out and about by myself in Japan and decided to talk to people that I felt seemed cool. Of course, you can also do this with your friends, but to simplify it, socializing in Japan is much more group-oriented. And I've always seen local groups of people out in Osaka or Tokyo find it easier to indoctrinate me into their group if I'm out by myself. It's easier to bring one extra person to the after party or one extra person to a new private event, and those have been the most unique and meaningful experiences for me. But you might be saying, Wes, that does not sound safe, which leads me to my next pro for traveling Japan specifically. It is an extremely safe country, which is of course a big concern for solo travelers. Crime rates in Japan, even in big cities like Tokyo, are amongst the lowest in the world. Of course though, please travel safely, have good situational awareness, and trust your instincts with people. All in all, I love the freedom of solo traveling, and it's very doable in Japan compared to other countries. But of course, I have memories traveling with friends that I will never forget. Final tip for traveling solo: check out staying in ryokan over hotels. It's a great way to make friends. Versus directors of theater, the izakayas and cafes in this area are famous for just that. Like at this all-night bar and art gallery just upstairs from Izakaya Baruto, or at Anime Cafe 44 Sonic. I met so many fun people here that are powerhouses in creative industries this past summer. And just for general recommendations, any establishments along the famous Star Road in the evening time will serve this very purpose well. Historically, Asagaya is famous for its jazz music circuit, which developed over 30 years ago, more than a bit of a wild underground past, which many of the establishment workers here know about and will tell you about. I found it a unique place to casually connect and bond with people over music or creative endeavors in general, resulting in more than a couple really good friends and connections. And if you have interest in local Tokyo friends, I'm sure you can do the same thing here regardless of language capability, because I think due to the global trajectory that a lot of creative careers pursue, a lot of the people I met here spoke English and had interest in travel, even though not many tourists really seem to come here. Maybe a bit because of this, for Tokyo it really does seem to have a small community type of vibe. People I met here would hit me up a lot and were genuinely cool, to the point where my acquaintances here would invite me to these amazing local festivals and even had a small goodbye dinner for me when I left to Europe for work. It's even been a cool place for me to bring my other Tokyo friends. Anyway, I know only the most chill travelers follow my content, so this recommendation is specifically for you all, and consider giving me a follow, otherwise you might never see my videos again. Thanks for watching. And Asagaya even has a Denny's. So the time I thought I stayed in a haunted house in Japan, and the very dumb explanation behind it, even with a real-life spooky twist at the end, all happened just over 4 years ago when I went to go stay at an acquaintance's empty guest house in a relatively uninhabited suburb of Osaka. I had a job in the area, and my friend said that he knew someone with an empty, unused house right close by to where I would be working. I could stay there for a week for $100 and it would save me a long morning commute, so I said, yep, let's do that. So before it sounds like I overreacted, let me set the scene. I arrived at dusk, it was raining, cleaning and I entered the old but honestly beautiful house. The lights in the house were actually flickering and it was surrounded by an abandoned lot and an old industrial building. All good though, still I thought. So alone in the house, I got ready for work the next day, hung up my coat in the spooky closet and got into bed. Then it happened though. While reading in bed, from the closet across the room, I heard a rustling sound like then a crack and a bunch of clunking sounds. Then with a creak like the closet door slowly opened a bit. And I'm not gonna lie, this really freaked me out at the time, and inside the closet I could only see darkness. I remember saying just no, and thinking I wish I didn't see that and I was asleep. But I'm not gonna not just see what's up with that, right? So I texted the girl I was dating at the time saying, hey, I think I'm staying in a haunted house maybe. That gave me a bit of courage, and then I grabbed the camera tripod that was by my bed in case I had to whack away a goblin or a big mouse or something. Went over to the darkness to investigate and then laughed at myself when I saw what happened. So basically I have this big heavy coat that I made heavier by filling the pockets with portable chargers for my work. It broke the old coat hanger that it was on, fell to the floor, knocking over some old paintings and boards, and subsequently pushing over the old closet door with a creak. I sighed with relief, went back to bed, texted the girl that didn't text me back yet saying never mind, and forgot about it for then. Until the twist. Months later, that text message I sent came up in conversation with the girl that I sent it to. She asked if I sent it because I was nearby the abandoned tuberculosis hospital. I said, what? And then she told me I was right in the area of the famously haunted, abandoned Kaizoku Tuberculosis Hospital, which is a wild place. Let me know if I should make a video about that too. Anyway, I'm glad I didn't know that at the time. She laughed a lot when I told her what actually happened. And all in all, my time at that house was really such a wonderful memory. So if you ever think there's a ghost in your closet, it might just be a heavy coat. Happy Halloween.